Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's good to see such a large group on a Tuesday. It's beautiful. I think we're kind of riding a wave after the launch of the latest film. So it always seems to happen after the film comes out. So yeah, it's amazing. So for those who haven't been to one of these check-ins before, this is really just an opportunity to talk about whatever's coming up in your sadhana, in your practice. It might seem like a Q&A, like a question and answer kind of thing, but really it's just me pointing to your true nature. So I'm kind of like a finger pointing to the moon. And as we go into it, you'll probably get a sense that I'm not really necessarily answering questions, because the truth is never found in my answers. But I point, or sort of the intention is to start to dissolve the questioner or point beyond the questioner. That being said, the questions that come up in our sadhana are very important. We don't want to dismiss questions. So we want to see the question clearly and go into it together. I'd love to hear what's coming up in your practice. This is being recorded for those that we have some people in different time zones, and there are some people for whom this is like 3 a.m. So we're recording it for them, and they've sent in some questions as well. So at some point I will answer those questions that came in by email as well. So I'd love to hear what's happening in your meditation practice, your self-inquiry, your dream time as you're doing your sadhana, deep sleep, Turiya, life, integration, all of the above. So let's maybe start with Dana. I'll get you to unmute there.
Okay, can you hear me?
Can, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, question I have is in the meditation, and I'm just allowing and not focusing on an object like my heart or my breath. The mind will go into some fantasy world or something, and I've allowed some of that just to be because it feels like if I resist too much, then it gets stronger.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if the mind's having another conversation like I had the words come up and it felt a bit like the awareness was, well, you've always done this. This is just a way to escape the present.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not sure where that's coming from or if my mind's just playing this mental conversation.
Mm-hmm. So,
Um,
so just to clarify, so when you're sort of just being in your meditation, not not
mhm.
not focusing on an object, and then you find all of a sudden you're kind of lost in phenomena of the mind. Is that
Yeah, yeah,
what's
the mind will
happening?
go somewhere. And I know it's illusion because it's me 20, it's like the future, but a version of me that's 20 years younger,
Yeah.
which is kind
Okay.
of humorous.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So that's totally normal. That's what always happens in meditation. Um, And so we, like, the intention with this retreat, the offering of the different techniques and all of that is that at the beginning, cultivating that single pointedness, that concentration, can be very helpful in this process. We want to eventually come to just being, but if the mind is really stirred up, there's still, those unconscious hooks, where there's still unconscious patterns that are so strong that all of a sudden we just are lost in them. So the concentration and equanimity practices at the beginning are a way to sort of cut through that, you know. So it's a stage. So it's, you know, it's using the mind to you know, to sort of interrupt the habit pattern of the mind, and eventually those techniques can be let go. So we definitely want to come to a just being, but it's not really meditation if we're just kind of lost in the mind for long periods of time. We definitely want to cut through that. So there's this middle way where, you know, for most people they'll work with the techniques for a while, and then you'll find over time the mind, you know, is settling down. You know, attention is staying maybe for longer periods of time, and you might get to a point where it feels like there's been a shift, and then that's the time to just come into choiceless awareness, to just drop the technique when that mind has kind of stabilized, and there's at least some continuity of presence. It doesn't have to be like, you know, perfectly present, but you know. So does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I guess the other aspect is it seems like this is not just a pattern in meditation, it's a pattern in life. And
Absolutely.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure if the
Hmm.
meditation or that voice is revealing
Hmm.
like a hindrance or something that's been a constraint within my life.
Hmm. Quite often, there can be insights that come, you know, from
Hmm.
who knows where, from higher mind or whatever you want to call
Hmm.
it. But definitely, you'll start to see all the patterns that are in play. You know, that tendency um, to not be here. You know, whatever it is that's taking our attention out of the now and into the world of thoughts and phenomena. So
Okay.
yeah, so that, yeah, for sure that is being revealed in this process. So, and it's not just localized to the meditation cushion. It's, you know, these unconscious processes of mind that are being revealed. They're always there in day-to-day life. We're just now getting to see what's in play.
Okay. There's
Mhm.
more, but I'll let others speak and see if these other questions are answered later.
Okay.
But thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Dana. Okay. Yeah, I'll go to Kyle. Hi, Kyle.
Hey, Dan. This has been quite the experience. It's been really beautiful. Um, you are sneaky good at this, and it's really fun to watch. Um, I came into this experience looking for an in-person retreat specifically um, to experience samadhi, because that was my initial exposure to you was inner worlds, outer worlds that I watched and just completely blown away. And that was just like in July. And so there's this part of me that's skeptical coming into this that the virtual and not always live aspect would get in the way. And it just revealed itself as part of the teacher. It's really funny.
Mhm.
Um,
Awesome.
and every day I've had these experiences where something would be coming up and processing and just and then literally the next video is a teaching video and you literally address it directly.
Mhm.
It's like, it's like in awe of the perfection of not only the process, but just like of this workshop, but just of life itself. And I had a experience this morning that ties into the question I want to ask you about, which is the importance of feeling the present moment and whether or not that is a technique or tool or if it's something deeper. And so last night I had this, the Wizard of Oz just literally just popped in my head.
Mhm.
And there was a time where I would have just dismissed it and not been curious. And because it was so random and it wasn't prompted by anything,
Mm.
I was like, well, I should just be curious. Like, and I just played with it the way, and I've done this a lot. Like, this is not a brand new skill or whatnot, but I just played with it. And I had this completely unraveling of the movie and the theme and the premise and like it's the profoundness of it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Mm. Beautiful,
Like I
beautiful.
had no idea. It's like I had
Yeah,
no idea.
yeah.
And
It's a good
and
one.
then it's a
Yeah,
great one.
yeah.
And it's kind of metaphoric for like realizing it's not unique to this movie. Like every experience I've ever had has this discovery in it.
Mhm.
And it's a discovery of like my inner self and like my inner awareness. And so this morning when I was listening to the video, and I was out sitting on a park bench by this lake that I live by, and you just referenced the Wizard of Oz, and I immediately was just like, oh man. I'm just like, the force is strong with this guy. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on him because he's clearly got an eye on me. He's reading my thoughts. And what happened was like I became observant of the experience of the discovery of that connection. And I just felt this incredible expansiveness within my beingness. And I was just being that feeling.
Mhm.
And that ties in with my question is that, in my experience, I'm not going to go through my whole journey. That would be like forever. But like one of the main teachings I've received from myself is to feel the present moment and to not think about it, to not observe it, because
Mhm.
I'm observing it through the lens of my mind.
Mhm.
That it's when I feel it and feel it fully and unconditionally and welcome it. And each moment is a blessing of that feeling. Even if the sensation, the time my ego would label it sad or angry, I've had experiences where I felt the most deepest, profound sadness. And in that state, I became curious about the sensation of the sadness.
Mhm.
And I was in a situation where I was literally sobbing, moaning, sobbing. And I became curious about the sound of my sob.
Mhm.
And I slowed down and I dropped in between the vibrational frequencies of the sound of my sob. And out of that stillness in between, those little mini gaps, a new voice came up, and that was in harmonious um, sync with love and compassion.
Mhm.
And I literally felt the song of my sorrow that was a song of the love of all of everything.
Mhm.
And
Beautiful.
so I think that experience and many others has really had me focus on don't think, feel it.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if you can expound on the impact of that. And also if you can touch on what degree this is a tool and if this is something eventually let go or if this is it.
Mhm.
And I'm also curious about how this ties into the dyads because one of the things that I notice get activated with that process with the imperative is that my mind jumps to try to explain it. And what I try to do is I notice that, observe the mind. I notice the mind trying to do that. And I notice, and then I'm like, what does this moment feel like? And I try to come back into the feeling to try to stay in it a little bit longer, go a little bit deeper, not go right into reporting and
Mhm.
trust, having faith that there'll be time to report at the end, but just to go deeper into the feeling. So if you can expand on that,
Yeah.
would be great.
Great question. Yeah. Yeah. So, is it a tool, that can be eventually let go, or is this it? I like that. That sort of encapsulates, I think, your question. And I would say it's both. So it's it's like to me like the traditions, um, like Vipassana is a perfect example. I don't know if you've done much Vipassana meditation, but it's about going into the sensations that are here and now. And in, different Vipassana traditions talk about that different ways, but there are these sort of stages of absorption the sensations are just this vibratory field, you could say, this field of changing phenomena, prana, whatever you want to call it. To me, that is the bridge in this practice, in sadhana. We're turning the attention away from the mind, from thoughts, and just coming into what's here now. And what's here now is this field of changing sensation. So going into that, just being with what is, the mind will try to snag attention in all these different ways. But if we just keep coming back to this sensation that's here now, there's this absorption process that's happening, the jhanas, or the stages of meditative absorption, and we start to this sense of I, the sense of this witness that's here, starts to merge into this vibration. This is it. It's like when we let go of the this constant fixation on thoughts, this energy will build, and there's nothing to do except to just be with that. And as you described, all sorts of things can happen. We start to get insights. We start to get clearing. Old emotions, phenomena, traumas will come to the surface. Sadness, all of that. So we just feel everything. Exactly what you're describing. It's perfect. Just allow everything. And the equanimity practice is really it. It's just being okay with what is, and then if there's any sort of doing in that, if there's a doer of, like a sort of mediator, like a Kyle character that is, doing something to let go, or that's sort of navigating that, or whatever the little self is doing in the meditation, that doing becomes less and less over time. So there is a sort of like that knowing of that I'm going to be with sensation. I'm gonna just stay with sensation. That I even that knowing I can even let go, and there's just becoming one with whatever this is. Whatever, we don't want to even name it as sensation. It's that just the naming is just another part of the mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I work as a therapist, and I do EMDR therapy, and one of the things of the protocol is to name the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped doing that. I just don't even tell my clients to think of it as an emotion. Don't label it as anger, because you just brought story in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just I feel as a sensation or energy.
If you can come to that raw aliveness, that's just here. Like you described it perfectly when I think sadness coming up, just getting curious, like feeling it without the labels, without, just directly feeling it. And that, there is an alchemy that happens. You described like a stillness, that seemed to be inherent or present within that. And that's it. So when we drop that labeling, but I should also mention, so that there are Vipassana techniques that are labeling techniques as well. So some of the Vipassana systems, like at the beginning, the mind is generating all kinds of phenomena. So there's a labeling practice where, so in some traditions, they'll say, they'll label a thought as daydreaming or planning or whatever. All these different thoughts come up, and it is a legitimate way to interrupt that initial habit pattern of the mind, doing a
Well,
labeling practice. But what people come to is what you're describing. Eventually, you come to a deeper layer of just this
yeah.
changing phenomena. So,
Well, because I know from earlier experiences that I was labeling, even though it wasn't a formal practice,
mhm,
and it was the labeling that allowed me to see how holding the label and holding the preference over that label was causing my suffering.
mhm,
So it all is
mhm,
part of it. It's remarkable how
mhm,
this teaches,
mhm,
and I've come to like realize through my experience that this energy wants us to discover ourselves. And the only thing preventing us from that is our holding on to things that aren't really itself and not being present. And I feel like when the last 7, 8 months in particular, when I've really made a commitment to just feeling the present moment, it's like I'm turning the movie of my life, the real movie, on again.
yeah,
And I'm just watching,
yeah,
I'm just allowing
yeah.
with
That's
complete
beautiful.
faith. It's
Yeah,
just amazing. And
yeah.
we all have this movie, we all have this story. We just
Mhm,
need to learn to let it to be so we can let it play out. So
yeah.
thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I loved the wizard analogy. Just as you were just speaking now, the whole play. The story is that in the original movie, there's this terrible looking, fierce wizard head, and that is the ego. That's the the conditioned self that's made up of all these thoughts, and it seems big and it seems
Yeah.
scary, but
I-
we're looking behind the curtain by going into this vibratory field, and we
And
see it as it is.
one of the thoughts I had about that last night was the realization that when the curtain is drawn back, that the ego is actually wanting to help you.
Hmm.
Like in the original movie, like the wizard was actually on their side.
Yeah, yeah,
And even his attempt to get Dorothy home, when he was the one that left, which is the ego is the one that left. I'm like, and
yeah.
then you talk about in the training today about how um, just everything is teaching and everything is um, that you have to befriend the ego, and
Hmm.
how that was so directly connected with my realization I had. It was just
Yeah, that's
like this
yeah.
story.
Thank
This
you.
is just going to keep going. It's just
Yeah,
it never ends.
yeah.
The
Awesome.
depth is amazing. So thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. That's a great thing to highlight is that, we're not going to battle with the ego. We're not trying to do anything except realize that limited self is, it's my sense of I. It's the sense of who I am is just no longer limited to that. So the show, the individual carries on always, but now it's not me. It's life carrying on as the individual. So yeah, thank you. We'll go to Ruben. Hi, Ruben. Get you to unmute.
Okay, how's it? Are we good?
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna calm myself for a second here because the body is shaking. It's a lot of energy going on right now. I did okay, first off, let me distinguish between I and the character Ruben and say R when I'm referring to the character. So R took the week intensive 2 months ago. And after that, every day I would say, is awareness here? And I would say, yes, it's here. And I would go here, is awareness here? Yes, it is. And everywhere I went, awareness was there. Awareness was everywhere. There's no place it wasn't. One time I was on the beach. One time R was at the beach. And it looked at all of the people and all the things and said, is awareness here? And he said, yes. And then I said, I looked all the way to the sun. I said, is awareness there? He said, yes. And I was like, does awareness have a place? Is it in a location? It's not in a location. I'm sorry, I got a little sidetracked here. So, because what I wanted to do is ask the question about the illusion of my, the word my, because little r, Ruben, would say it has a son, it has my daughter, my wife, my life, my this, my that, and it's an illusion. There's no my. I, meaning the big I, is life. And I just watched your fourth video for the third time. And in the video, you describe about the creation of the I, the character I, how it's an illusion. It's like a thread. It's like a creation, a character that's not real. And so I keep thinking, I'm trying to calm myself and trying to figure out how to say what I'm trying to say in words that actually cause the illusion, because words have a structure of this and that, of a verb, a noun, and a subject, which is the illusion. So the I character, the R, seems to need to be right. And I'm like, what? Why? Is that the creation? Does the character create it because of this being right and wrong? And it's like, yeah, that's one of the skandhas that you talk about, the five skandhas. And so it's like, my question is, are others me? How? Because the I, yes, everything is, there's only one I, and it's everything and nothing at the same time. But the character R is nothing more than a movie character. Kyle said that so beautifully about the ego is on your side too. It's like everything wants to be that. So I circled I'm here because source wants me. I circled that too with a question mark, to be here. And language is so convoluted, it really mixes things up a lot. So I realized that the less I am the R and the more I am the I, the more at peace and the more everything falls into place. And it just I like I said, I've watched your fourth part 3 times, and it is ah. So here's the thing: is that after watching that, I realized that presence that you talk about is presence here, is awareness here, and yes, it is. It just blew my mind when I realized that's me. I'm the awareness. I'm that, and I was like, does that mean there's only one? And that's it. There's only one. Yeah. And it's like I could see Z going, yes, yes. So I'm like just looking at myself right now. And it's funny because all these characters, Catherine, Janet, Evan, Doris, they're in different locations. Like if I were to ask you right now, where are you? And you could say in Canada. I don't know if you're in Canada or not. And I would say, well, that's the character, Dan, that's in Canada. But the real character is everywhere. The one behind Dan is everywhere. And so thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you've created. Yeah. Before this, I've meditated for an hour and a half, but I've never meditated for 6-8 hours per day for 7 days. And that was transformative. Absolutely. It's like the ticket. But the characters around the R, meaning the wife, they're going like, why do you keep doing all this meditation for? What are you doing? You're like, I really want to be there. It's like a really good place to be. And it's like, but it's not a place and it's not a thing.
That's
and
it.
There's nothing.
That's it. So yeah. So like life literally, when that fully lands, that's it. Life is meditation. Like that's it. It's all everything, whether you're with family, you're at work, it's all the same sadhana, it all, sometimes I say like life becomes a dyad. You know, it's like because you're literally, if you're just abiding as that awareness, you know, still the mind is going to do what it's going to do. Phenomena arises, whether we call that, you know, an illusion or you know, to me those words like, you know, real and illusion, that's still, even that is you know, it's just what's arising. It's this whole human experience. So whether we call it real or illusion, it's just what is, you know. So the Reuben, you know, is Reuben is, you know, there's this experience of Reuben. So you know, is that me? Is my sense of I limited to that? No. It's you know, so that's the illusion that if I think I'm identified with that character, then it's like I've been tricked. It's like you know, this is Maya. This is the whole game of this embodiment experience. Is, you know, that somehow you know, this one can experience itself as being limited.
In the fourth thing that you just movie that you great, absolutely, thank you for doing that. I can't thank you enough for that. At the end of it, you talk about the virtual reality headset being removed, and all of a sudden you wake up, and they're like, "Whoa!" But you can't describe it. You can't. I My words are limited into the amount of what I want to say. They're so limited. So there's this false I called R, Reuben. It's false. It's a character in a movie. That's it. And so now that I'm with family because of holidays, it's funny that I use the word my because it's an illusion. There's no my. And I see my brother, my mother, my sister, and they have different points of views. And I guess they're right in their own point of view, but they're not seeing each other's points of view. And there's conflict between them too. And like, why is there conflict? It's because they're not seeing the other point of view. But it's not until we go past all of that that all of a sudden it just all makes sense. It's an illusion.
Yeah.
It's a headset.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that core insight that you've described really well, you know, there is also, yeah, I'd like to just point out this embodiment process. You know, if we, as we sort of abide as the self or as awareness, you know, there's this sort of wiring in that happens, you know, this inner lotus, and more there's this direct experience of everything. You know, it's like our baseline, you could say our baseline of non-duality or our baseline of samadhi gets higher as this wiring happens. So we start to directly experience everything as ourselves, the more that wiring happens. And so that samadhi, or that you know, this is the path of all the yogis and the rishis and everything. So that development process is ongoing as well, and one's skill to kind of navigate the world, and you know, the nervous system, all of that is tied into this energy that's evolving. So, you know, so when somebody first has an awakening, and then they jump back into the world in a difficult situation where you know, people are fighting or whatever's going on, the nervous system can get pretty frazzled with that. But as this wiring unfolds, it all becomes sort of integrated, and we can, those things that are, you know, maybe a really strong charge, you know, at one point on the journey can be handled much more easily at later stages.
I have a small little request. I want to try something here. Can you raise your right hand?
Mm-hmm.
Could you? Who raised your hand?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, and as long as we use these words like you and I, you know, we're not really speaking the truth. This is this is the mystery, right? If I say you did, I did, there's an untruth in the language. The language always creates this separation.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
might be more
So,
accurate to say the self did or the one did.
okay. So the R doesn't like cold weather. And are you in Canada?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So when it gets warmer, I definitely need to go and take a R needs to go take a visit personally. I am so appreciative of so here's the bottom line. Eckhart Tolle talks about this. He talks about that the source, the being, I don't know what you call the life, the oneness, moved him to come to California. And it's like that's probably what it's doing with you. It's like putting you here to say this, to do that. And it's not, it's you. You did. You did.
Yeah, it's life. You could say life did the energy of life. To me, my own way of sort of saying it is, the more I get the little Dan out of the way, so little Dan's preferences and
Uh-huh.
all of its agenda, its script. Once it's no longer following the script, then life can do what it wants with this vessel, and yeah, and it's going to move it here and there. It's going to, life will just live through it. It'll create movies. It'll whatever it's going to do. So
And express how appreciative I am of what you're doing.
thank you, Ruben.
Look at my hands are shaking. I mean, ours hands are shaking.
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Zoo. Hi, Zoo. Oh, where are you, Zoo? Just disappeared.
I'm here.
Oh,
Can you see me now? I took my hand off. Okay, I'll put it back up so you can see me. Hold on, raise hand again.
oh,
Okay,
there
there
you
you
are. Yeah,
go. Okay.
you're in my top corner, and then you disappeared. So yeah, there you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Dan. And it's been beautiful to watch that I I have done the May retreat and I'm hearing all those lessons for the first time.
Mm,
It was just like, wow, it's so fresh.
mm,
But yet I'm not the same person. I've dropped a few filters. I'm at a different place, and yet it's so fresh. Like all of your lessons are always so fresh. It's amazing.
mm. I think the fact that you've dropped the filters is it. If the mind were involved, the mind would be like, oh, it's the same thing. But yeah, that's it. We make everything new when we drop that filter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Mhm.
And so I have this question about samadhi, absorption, jhanas. Are they all the same things? And then I'll start by sharing what's going on in my meditation. So like I could go into a state where I'm just aware. I'm just aware of breathing. And I get to this point where it's like I'm on a track. I'm just flowing and I'm not doing anything. I'm just witnessing the breath. It's just like a continuous witnessing, like there's a magnet underneath me keeping me there.
Mm,
So that's one that happened before. But then there's another one that I've never experienced where it's like all of a sudden I feel like I fell asleep, but I'm here. I'm like,
mm,
did I just fall asleep? Like it's like something shifted. It's like when the airplane goes from being on the land and then it goes above the clouds. Like even if we don't look outside the window, we can just feel like, I don't know, the altitude or the pressure is different. It's like,
mhm,
oh, I think that's what you mean by falling awake. It's like,
mm.
and
Yeah.
I'm here, but like, where is my body? I
Mhm,
mean, I can't find the body
mhm,
and I can't find the breath. I'm like, I'm following the breath and following the breath. Like, what happened to the breath? There's just awareness.
mm.
So
Beautiful.
that's the second
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And the third one is only happened in a sound healing and in a breath workshop. And it's like all of a sudden the bubble burst and I'm in this sparkly spaciousness.
Mm.
And I don't know where I don't know where I am. I don't know where my body is. It's like, where am I? But I'm here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have no locality.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. What you're describing, what comes up for me is, the teachings of Dogen. He says that meditation is the dropping off of mind and body, and it's the dropping off of the I thought. This sense of thinking, the I thought. So it's not the big I that drops off. There's still the sense that I am, but my body, my mind, and he also says the mind and body of others drops off in the same space as well. So there's no longer my body, no longer other body. So this is the jhanas in Buddhism are describing the same phenomena. So with the jhanas, it starts out, most people start out with the hindrances, there's tiredness, there's, pain in the body, all these things. And eventually that drops away. And it sounded like you said at one point, it sounded like you described something magnetic, almost like your attention became continuous. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like there's no wavering, there's no
Hmm.
thoughts. It's just like on the track. It's
Yeah.
doing itself.
Yeah.
It's built up a momentum that I don't need to pedal down the hill
Beautiful.
anymore. It's just like shh.
That's it. So that is one of the jhanas. Actually, there are different stages of jhana, and that single pointedness is usually around the third or fourth jhana, where it's like the attention becomes very single pointed, and there's just an equanimity with everything that's arising, and usually at that point we've given up. Chasing one state over another. At the first jhanas, usually when those hindrances disappear, it's usually very pleasurable, and there can be an enjoyment that comes in that. But that will come and go. That will fluctuate, and usually the ego mind will want to get that back. It's like a pleasurable sensation in the body, but if we're just okay with that coming and going, not chasing, then that attention eventually becomes very single pointed and just one with the energy that's arising, and that dropping off that you're describing is usually characterized by the fourth jhana. So that's the first four jhanas are the material jhanas, which have to do with this physical form and reality. So up until the fourth jhana, you have a body and a mind, and then after the fourth jhana, it gets very, very tricky to even speak about it, because it's there is a dropping, and I love that phrase, falling awake. There is something that happens which it's not a happening in the mind. It's not something that it can be pointed to as an experience, but yet there are these changes in consciousness and changes in what's being perceived in that state. So yeah, and those jhanas, you described like that magnetic sort of, it's almost like the energy knows what to do and how to take you there. And yeah, so there's no instructions for the energy. If you're in the stream of that energy, and it's taking you into these meditative states, there's just trusting that is it. You just allow that to unfold, and whatever spirit wants to show, or whatever is meant to happen on the path just happens. Yeah.
Thank you. And is that related to samadhi, the jhanas?
So in Patanjali's teaching and the yogic world, they talk about stages of samadhi. So usually when I talk about samadhi, I'm talking about like the full, what remains in deep sleep, like the nirvikalpa samadhi. But they have all these little lesser samadhis, which are the jhanas. It's the same. It's actually the same word even. So in the yogic world, they call it dhyana, and the Pali is jhana, but it's actually the same word. So when they talk about stages of samadhi, they're talking about those jhanas.
Okay, so you can interchange those two words.
Yeah, they're the same. It gets confusing with certain teachers. There's the language is just all over the place when it comes to the different traditions. But if you trace it back to the root, all these words like jhana, dhyana, zen, chan, they're all the same word, just in different languages. Yeah, and they're all talking about these stages of meditative absorption or samadhis. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I want to share also the flip side of this was like a huge struggle at the beginning because I had 3 days of full-on headache. It was like 10 out of 10. And it was my meditation object the whole time.
Wow.
And but in a dyad, it was really interesting because I would be so in the meditation, I'm observing the sensations, the density, the movements of pain, and it's never localized in one place. It's constantly moving. It's like a moving painting, the headache. And so um I'm just watching it all day. And then I get to a dyad with a partner and I'm describing it to her. And it's a 10 out of 10. And then all of a sudden, what happened to the headache? It was a complete zero. I was in shock. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Been having this headache, watching it all day, and it's been staying at 10, and all of a sudden with a witness. So my question is it the presence that's like what just happened?
Yeah, I wish I actually knew. Yeah, like I wish I actually knew, in a way that I could explain, scientifically what's happening. But I've seen this over and over, and in my own experience as well. I had an experience that was similar at a Zen center where I was in 10 out of 10 pain, and just being with that pain, and there was something just happened where it's like some sort of alchemy or some shift happened, and not by me doing anything, but just like I was observing hour after hour, just trying to be equanimous as best I could. The little character was struggling a lot, but eventually something happened, and yeah, there was a flip. Oh, it was like the sense of who and what I was woke up from that one that was struggling. And I've seen this over and over in people's practice. And there can be, quite often it is when things are kind of maxed out, and the energy is just so intense going into a pattern of pain or a pattern of sleepiness or a struggle or something. And at a certain point, it can just drop away, literally just drop away. And then it's in that space we can see if we inquire, who was the one that was struggling, and it wasn't me, it's never me that's struggling. It's always the struggle is happening in this dream character, and so but the struggle has to go on. It just goes on until that shift happens. We can't make that happen. Yeah, but it's to me the most mysterious thing is how this. It's like waking up from this struggle, from this struggling character, and from the pain. All of it, it can just drop off, and then I see it as just it's just a mind process. It's just thoughts, that I am in pain, this belief that I am in pain. But who is that I? When that sense of I dissolves, there's no I that's in pain. It was just a mind process, just more phenomena. So it can just literally drop off like nothing.
Mm. And I think that the presence really helped, because when I went back to being the witness, the headache came right back. It was like a 10 out of 10. I was like, the headache's like, haha, you can't get rid of me so easily.
Yeah, yeah. So exploring that, and exploring obviously, within the character, there's always a preference of having no pain versus the pain, right? So
Yeah.
the mind, it wants to figure it out. It's like, okay, how do I get it so that I can, how can I drop off that mind so there's no pain? But the one trying to drop it off is that mind. It's the one that's trying to do something. So this is the paradox, and we just keep revisiting it over and over. It can happen, over and over in a retreat like this, where we just see the situation. It is a cosmic joke. It's an absurd situation, because the one any doing any trying to figure it out or trying to know is keeping that pattern alive. So all we can do is just keep coming back to the presence that's always here, just abiding as that presence, and that's it. Just see what's happening, see the mind and all of its tricks and all of its flip-flopping, from pain to no pain, and just seeing. That's it. Just seeing. And if there's no preference, there's no I wrapped up in any of it. It all just unfolds, and those deeper jhana states become more and more just what is. So it just happens. But I love that you mentioned the struggle, because to get to a point where that attention is really single pointed, like that magnetic kind of attention. Usually it takes an incredible amount of like they say, meditating like your hair is on fire. It's like your whole being is usually involved in that. So that the amount of effort and surrender in that was probably quite great. And yeah, and that's usually what it takes to reach those deeper jhana levels.
I think it was the pain of the headache, so I can see it as a gift now.
Mm-hmm.
It
Beautiful.
kept me really on track. It was just like, I'm here, pay attention to me.
Yeah, that's it. That's like your cross, like you were on the cross, and if we can just willingly say, okay, thank you, get up on the cross rather than fighting it, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thanks, Sue. Yeah, Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Dan.
Hello.
Thanks so much for having this space. Like, I love to be able to check in and be in this collective. Have a share and a question. The share is that, so it's been a year that I've really been dedicated to this sadhana. Was in your retreat around the first of the year that I had my Ken show. And I haven't really gotten off the cushion since then, you know, metaphorically. And everything's changed. Like, I guess nothing's changed, but I see it, everything. And I'm in this spot where I think I've let go. Like the ego's still there trying to do stuff, but it's almost like I'm too lazy to like even bother about it. It's kind of like, yeah, too much effort.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. You're not entertaining whatever its games are.
Yeah, not much.
Yeah,
I mean, it tries to hook a lot. It will try, but
yeah,
yeah, it's like I don't have the motivation to follow it or something like that.
yeah. To me, there's something. I'd love to hear what you think of this, but like to me, it's almost like a losing of interest in those games. You know, like that it's the one who's interested. You know, of course, is that I that's interested is the game itself, right? So it's like it's playing its own game. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah. So to me, like yeah, it's almost like the true self when we wake up. You know, there is almost like a losing of interest in the dream, or yeah, these pursuits that seem so important, you know, within the script of the dream character, are now just seen as that, just a script.
Yeah, as I'm talking about it, it's sort of reminding me like there's like juice in it, like there's like uh adrenaline or something in the ego stuff.
Mm.
And I just don't, I guess I don't need it. Because
Mhm.
I know like I know who I am and it's just so beautiful. Like, and I know who you are, I know who everyone is. Like, and that's better, you
Yeah,
know.
it is better. Yeah, it is.
Calmer, it's no, there's no like up and down,
Yeah,
but
yeah. That's the thing in like whatever satisfaction, you know, that adrenaline or that, surge of dopamine, whatever's happening, you know, the pleasure centers in the body mind, all of that, those little pleasures are just so pale compared to, you know, I like some of the teachers compare, like it's like we've been lighting a candle, you know, with those little pleasures, you know, and that, but then it's like we turn on the sun, you know, and so like you don't need that little candle anymore, you know, you don't need to go after those little pleasures, because the bliss that flows just from being here is self-sustaining. It has, you know, there's no cause to it. It's just beingness itself.
I feel like, you know, I think my whole life is an opening, but then on top of it, I get these other openings. And that's a sort of a question I have, or I don't know, share. But like I'll get a bigger opening and they're always different experiences. Never could guess what the next one could be. But then I seem to like almost like get depleted or even sick, kind of.
Mm.
And then the samskara comes. Like I'm used to the
Mhm.
samskara coming, but this cycle with the sort of physical sickness
Yeah.
happened just twice now. And I was like, well, that's kind of, is that a thing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay.
It totally is a thing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, like we can talk about it in different ways, but um, like one way is to look at it sort of through the lens of the dark night of the soul. You know, when people touch their true nature, quite often then, you know, it's like all the stuff that is hidden starts to really come to the surface. That happens on every level. It can happen physically. It can be emotional. All the traumas, all of that stuff. So yeah. So to me, it's happened. On my own path, there was. My Dan character at the beginning was very determined to continue in its pattern, so so a physical sickness came. It was about a 2-year period that just stopped the character in its tracks, and there was a turning inward. There was probably nothing at that time that could have stopped the momentum of that character. So there's like a deep rewiring, and all of the sicknesses that have been, or all the imbalances and even literal viruses,
Yeah.
came up, like just everything, and it was like all of that just came to the surface, and it seems to be a phenomena on the path, and different teachers speak about this in different ways, but my feeling is that it is happening for, very deep rewiring. Sometimes they're just, it's like energies are excavating into parts of the self structure, and it's like when you release the pus from a wound or something, like it's not pleasant, but it's actually part of a greater healing. There's something being released and moving through it. I feel is it's instructive as well. I learn a lot every time the body mind gets really sick. It's usually it's one of those lessons. It's not pleasurable, but there's usually a lot of learning in it as well. Fine tuning the vessel.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
was it for you? Like a flu type sickness, that type of thing, or
Yes.
yeah,
Twice. Yeah, I would say like flu-like illness and just depletion.
yeah,
Like I had this quite, I don't know, almost like this channeling experience, which it was beautiful.
mm-hmm.
But then afterwards, it was just like I was so depleted.
Mm-hmm.
And then physically like a flu.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Samsara.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then again, another kind of opening, just deep meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And then same,
Mm-hmm.
some kind of other illness,
Yeah,
headachy, pain, and then now Samsara.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's
I don't know,
it's
like they're coming faster. So I don't know, maybe that's a thing.
yeah.
Like the cycles were bigger and now it's like, no.
It's mysterious how, like, I think it's different for everyone as well, but I feel like a big part of this path is that we're given these different things, and it's like we transmute that experience to something that is for the benefit of the path and for evolution. And what comes up for me, I had an experience with COVID, and I was visiting my dad, and he had it, and he gave it to me, and it was an experience with the breath where, like, I couldn't breathe at night. The body couldn't breathe, and so it kind of forced the situation where it was like an all-night meditation, basically sitting up, just observing the breath, having to kind of help the body to breathe, so maybe like a 10-hour breath meditation. And it was one of the most incredible samadhi states that came forth after it. And it was, and there was a samskara that came related to my dad as well. It was interesting that I was in this situation with him as well. So yeah, I feel like, like in a situation like that, if we're if we sort of allow it and fully go into it, it can be, yeah, incredibly beneficial on the path. We can turn something that is unpleasant to something that is to the benefit of this human journey.
You said something that brought up another question or comment, and that I noticed my samskara is getting less personal. Well, I'm sure it has to be in my field, but seems collective or more collective. I don't know if it's like collective that I've sort of taken on, but it seems different.
Yeah, well, to me that makes sense. Like I think when we have a samskara coming up, it usually seems very personal at the beginning, and then yeah, we start to when that personal I starts to dissolve or drop away, then we can start to feel, even see that samskara in play in others as well. You see the conditioned pattern in yourself, but then you go into the world or your family or wherever, you start to see that samskara in play, and it's always been collective, but it's when that little I starts to drop away, we really feel that. We feel, that boundary between self and other drops away. And
Yeah.
to me, that's closer to the truth. Yeah.
It's a little frightening to the little I, like in a way, like is because that's everything. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's powerful. Thank you for sharing about that experience. I think a lot of people go through, health stuff on this path, and it's. I think it's important to know that, when those inner energies come alive, there is an intelligence there, and you're going to be shown things. All sorts of things can unfold in life. Maybe a new diet will come, out of it, or a new, things can really shift around, and all sorts of things can be instructive, if we're to really bring that energy into balance. There may be all sorts of different things in life that shift around. So part of that shifting can be sickness or depression, a pulling back, a losing of interest, all these different things, and others who are observing us, think there's really something wrong. It must be something terrible going on, but it's actually just not the old pattern playing out anymore. These new things are shifting. So yeah, it's mysterious.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Julie. Yeah, Rosie.
Hi, Dan.
Hi there.
Thank you so much for having this and everybody share. It's been very helpful. I have a share and a question. So yesterday at the morning meditation, so far in this retreat, pretty much every single retreat so far, the pain in my legs have been the object of meditation. It just takes up so much of the attention, and then the push and pull and trying to figure out how to neutralize it. And it's just been the pattern, like it's like I know better than to do whatever. But yesterday there was just like a resolution to like I'm just going to be here. And what happened yesterday was the pain was still there, but then the attention went to the breath and then somehow went into the pain and into it, and not trying to get rid of it, but just to be with it somehow happened spontaneously.
Mm.
And then I was expecting this whole pain to last a whole hour. This was just the beginning.
Mhm.
But what happened was it just vanished. It just vanished. And there was a beingness. It's like you talk about, it was a flip, right? But unexpected. It didn't even like a flip. It was just a beingness, and the pain was not there. There was no strategy. There was nothing. It was just not there.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, what happened to the pain? And then the mind was a little confused because it was completely unexpected. And then the mind came back online. And then it was trying to duplicate what happened.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, I know better than tell me that. I know better, but
Yeah.
it had what happened, what happened.
Yeah.
And I just sat with it and I just let what happened happen. Got off the cushion. And then there was a thought like, okay, I know what beingness is. I know it was like happening on its own, even though it was a tussle in the middle.
Yeah.
And it was like, there's nothing for me to do because it was like the beingness was there, no thinking, no thoughts. But I was like, oh, I shouldn't leave the room. I should just be here and go deeper in it. And then outside, is my wife, my child and all that. I'm like, no, I'm just going to interact with life as it is. I'm not going to separate myself. That was what happened.
Yeah.
And I got off and interacted with the family, and still the beingness continued without any effort.
Hmm.
And then the skandhas that you had, somehow in my mind, it was like, okay, that's preferences. Okay, that's perception. Okay, that's happening on its own. Like I wasn't like these thoughts came and I should do that. I'm like, oh, that's just a preference. So like,
Hmm.
but I wasn't doing it. I was just noticing. It was kind of
Mm.
cool. Like it was
Yeah.
happening by itself.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like I know what to do, but I'm like, there's nothing to do at the same time because it was happening by itself, which
Yeah.
was kind of unexpected. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know that could happen that way.
Yeah. That what you're describing is perfect. That's it. Like beingness doesn't do anything, right? It's like,
Yeah, it wasn't doing anything. But
yeah.
there was only thing it was doing it was just noticing that okay, that's not me or that's a
Yeah.
thought. That's all that in my case, that's what was happening. Like, okay, preference, sensation, this, that. It was just noticing. That's what I
Yeah.
realized in my case.
So is there now in this moment, is there a sense of who you are? Are you that beingness in this moment?
Yes.
Yeah.
But before you ask the question, right now, yes, there's the beingness, but the sensations, then the legs are still being felt. That is not being labeled as pain. The beingness is here. Sensation, chick, 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 all that stuff is still happening, but there's
Yeah.
still stability here.
Yeah. Yeah. So just abiding as that beingness, just being literally as you are, just being as you are. You've never done anything actually. Beingness has never
Yes.
done anything. You know, beingness has never, done meditation. It's never done any
Right.
sadhana. It just is. Yeah. So, and it's just recognizing beingness as yourself. And as soon as the sense of I is with the character and the phenomena, then if the show goes on. But so this is true meditation. Just being as you are, being with beingness, and that's it. Yeah, and what you described is you know it's just a byproduct of just being. So the world, the Razi character can go. He knows how to do all the stuff in the world, and all that will just go on the way it goes on and go through the unfolding of life, but you can just be, you know.
It's so easy, but the reason I raised my hand was it seemed like it was coming and going, but now I see as I speak to you now, it's an illusion because it was not coming and going. That beingness is here now. It's sort of, I wouldn't say I tapped into it, but it's sort of more in the forefront as we're having this dialogue.
Yeah,
But after that, later in the day and even today's sit, it was it was back to struggle again, and I don't know how to say it, forgetting, or the attention was back into, oh, I know better, I'm the beingness, but it was not happening again. But now as I sit with you, it's here again. So
yeah,
what the question was, when I was even the inquiry was strengthening the illusion. So I stopped inquiring even, because when I was saying, well, who is this and what is this? That was, for in my case, was strengthening it. So I dropped everything, and I don't have to do anything, like why do I have to even inquire? And so I just stopped all that, and I was just, even though struggle was happening, and I was like, okay, struggle is happening, but still there was like a tussle still going on, and maybe there's an expectation of, oh, I got it, so it just be a straight line, but that's not what's happening. So maybe it's an expectation. I don't know.
yeah. That's perfect. So whatever the mind, thinks self-inquiry is, we can drop all that and just be, and then just you can just be yourself, just be absolutely free. And the paradox is
I'm
by
scared
being
to be myself. I haven't even done that my whole
like
life.
by being absolute. So that's, when we say tell me who you are, whatever the mind thinks that is, it's not that. It's just being really you, in this
Yeah.
moment, and you are, and you can't not be you. I mean, the mind will create all kinds of contractions around it, but yeah, that's the true, the imperative. It really is an imperative. It's not a question. It's not who are you. The mind always thinks it's who are you, and it's looking for an answer, but it's pointing to being, like, tell me who you are. I want to know the truth, beyond that mind. I want to know the being that's here, the human being, and that's it. And however that shows up is perfect. There's no answer because it isn't a question.
Like even I sit here, the pain is still here, it's still going on, but now it's not, doesn't have a pull anymore. Like, yeah, the being is there, and I don't have any more questions just sitting here.
Yeah.
So the question was, is that okay? Because I'm not, the inquiry for me is still a pull, so I just drop pretty much everything and just here.
Yeah, the question doesn't belong to beingness. The question
True.
is just part of the mind. So, yeah, and that, that I've got it, I've lost it game. Like we know, like a big turning point on the path is we understand that beingness is always here.
Yes.
So we don't. There's no more seeking at that
Right.
point. If you
Yes.
really get that, it's always you look, you look for beingness. It's always here. So it's so the mind, whatever the mind is doing in self-inquiry, seeking, all that seeking can drop. All that this could be the end of seeking if
That's
you.
what happened, Dan. Yesterday, after I
Mhm.
got up from the cushion, I was like praying. I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. Like, I don't have to seek, I don't have to look. I know. It was not knowing,
Yeah,
it's just the mind was calm. I didn't have a doubt, I didn't have the question anymore. It was just so,
yeah.
it was
That's it.
just so gratefulness.
So just marinate in that, in being,
There's
and
so much gratefulness. Yeah. Thank
and
you for
and
the work you do. Yeah.
and the embodiment process will be ongoing as well. There will be samskaras, whatever whatever is going to come will come. Just let it come, and what it's, don't be attached to any state, but there's no, now absolutely beingness is here. You know who you are. You don't have to seek for that.
But then, if I'm honest, this happened in the last May retreat too. I felt that beingness. I'm like, oh, I thought that's it. And then all those months, it was like being in the desert. And now I sit here and I'm like, oh, recognize beingness again.
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah. Yeah, and there might be a new desert that presents itself, and but beingness will be there
it's there.
the whole way along. Yeah, the beingness doesn't disappear. So, and that the desert is being cultivated. It's
And now,
being
as you say it,
transformed.
now from the
Mhm.
beingness point of view, the desert was just all these other skandhas using that framework. It was still there now that I'm really observant.
Yeah,
It was nothing to fight. It was like the attention was not in the beingness. It was in the drama that was, and I see it's all this is happening just so I can become aware of whatever is here.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's nothing to
beautiful,
fight. I see that. So even the pain
beautiful,
in the leg, it's helped me go into it, and through that something beautiful emerged. Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rosie.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Mhm. All right, so I'm going to end with I have a couple questions that came in from our friends who are in overseas places. Um, so I will cue that up here. Okay, so this is a question from Colin. So Colin asked, when responding as the inquirer in the dyad, how do we make sure that we're not building or creating a more sophisticated or more spiritual self-structure? So when responding in the dyad, how do we make sure we're not creating a more spiritual, sophisticated self-structure? Yeah, it's a great question. And this is a question that comes up as our practice really starts to mature. So I would say, so the short answer is you don't try to prevent a subtle spiritual self from forming, because trying to prevent that is a sort of policing. It's a trying to outsmart it, but that actually feeds it. So it's not about it's not about policing, or there's Ramana talks about a vigilance that never ends, but it's not a vigilance to police the ego. It's just a vigilance to abide as the self, just simply knowing who you are. And awareness doesn't police. Awareness doesn't do anything. It's just knowing the truth, that you were never that character. The spiritual persona, that spiritual persona is just created by identifying with phenomena, and that includes knowing spiritual information, or hanging on to past experiences, any kind of knowing. So, yeah, so it's just abiding in that don't know mind. You don't need to catch the spiritual ego for it to dissolve or to unwind. These dyads work because we keep turning attention away from that phenomena to what is always here, what is always already present. So whatever the mind, thinks it's becoming, the whole world of becoming, becoming a spiritual ego, that's all just happening in the mind. So, yeah, I would say, just staying close to this immediate experience, letting everything be said truthfully, plainly, That's how we move through these dyads. And there's a rightness to that, the feeling of that as it's coming through. There's an ease and a flow, even when samskaras are coming up and clearing is happening. So we don't police the ego, and the moment you try to avoid that ego, you're trying to push it away. There's an inherent sort of evaluation in that question. The moment you're trying to avoid the ego, you've actually given the ego a job. So this is really it's this. We just want to see that situation. So even the one who sees clearly, let that one speak. Just notice if there's any resistance, and then just see what remains in that. And there's one more quick question from Ali. The question is, I would love to hear your perspective on something that's been coming up for a while, and it's quite difficult to explain or put into a question, but I'll do my best. I'm curious to understand when there is knowing of non-duality, why does this beingness appear to be still attached to an identity or a person? Why is this beingness still appearing to be attached to an identity or a person? Why can't I know beingness as everyone and everything? Or why can't I deepen more? So why is this beingness appearing still as this person? So this is it's a great question, and there's a subtle subtle belief in play here, that it's like I should somehow come to this samadhi state that is beyond this person that's here. It's like it seems like there's a looking for something, a deepening, a direct experience of knowing life, knowing beingness in this more direct way. So this is a question of embodiment again. So this non-dual direct experiencing, it doesn't erase the organism. It doesn't erase, the individual that's here. It doesn't dissolve the nervous system and the memory and the conditioning, all of that. What dissolves is the belief that you are this person. The identification, again, is what falls away. But life remains as it is. So beingness, doesn't need to know itself as everyone and everything in order to be whole. It already is that. So what drops away is this false I. It's the I thought. This belief that somehow I need to merge into this state, or I need to deepen more.
I thought.
Yeah. So so all of these questions, it seems to lead back to, who is the one asking the question? There's always one who wants something, a special, particular knowing, or the mind is looking for something, a special experience. So we just want to see, what's in play, and as we've said many times in this hour and a half, it's just abiding as awareness, just being as you are, and just seeing these expectations or seeing these wantings
It's
and
an expectation.
making them conscious.
I'm conscious.
So, thank you, everyone. Yeah, beautiful sharing, and it's a real privilege to be part of your journey, and we'll see you in the dyads, and keep going. Thank you.